Thank you, Mr. Caffrey.
I'm Andy Caffrey, I live in Humboldt County in Garberville. I'm the only candidate who's lived and worked in all 6 counties and can represent both interests. I'm running because there's a climate crisis and because the economy is collapsing. It's not coming back. What we have to do is what we've been avoided doing for 30 years, which is move to Ukiah now. We have to get off fossil fuels and nuclear as fast as possible.
Predict for us what the economy will do in the next 2 years, and tell us if you could be guaranteed one bill to pass next year to improve the economy, what would it be? Thank you, Mr. Caffrey.
Is anybody here freaked out about the climate crisis, the ecological meltdown, the collapse of the economy, or the destruction of our democracy and our public infrastructure? Okay, I'm here for you because I think we have to deal with the foundations of our problem. Do you know we're no longer a middle-class country? The latest census indicates there are more poor people than middle-class people. And there's a difference here in our district. In Marin, Humboldt, Del Norte, and Trinity, the median income is $35,000. In Mendocino, Humboldt, Del Norte, and Trinity, it's $35,000. In Marin, it's $85,000. That's a big difference. $1 trillion in debt from our college students. Half of them have to go home. This is not acceptable. We can subsidize schools, we can subsidize health care, we can subsidize the things that we need to do to make a conversion off fossil fuels and nuclear. I'll talk about the climate crisis more later, but what we have to do is recognize that our 30 years of inaction on the climate crisis is something we have to attend to now or it's all over. So I see the economy collapsing and I see we have to rebuild a whole new economic infrastructure that's sustainable.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start the next round with Mr. Caffrey. And the question is, please outline your immigration plan for this nation and how it would affect agricultural business in the state of California.
Well, first of all, my approach is to look at demand and source. I've been working against the World Bank and globalization for over 20 years, and what you have is the destruction of subsistence economies in the third world, especially in Latin America. So the program I advocate is actually the redirection of trillions of dollars in a war effort declared by President Obama, a national climate emergency. And this is something we would do to get off of fossil fuel and nuclear as fast as possible. We would also have foreign policy shifted towards ending the globalization and supporting third world countries. So I think we need to rebuild the subsistence economy or help the Mexicans and Central Americans do that. At the same time, I understand the impact that it has in California, and Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. I grew up in Southern California. So I'm against the wall. As far as what to do about citizenship, I'm open to hearing what people have to say. I don't have a hard position either way. But I do care about the rights of the people who come to this country, even if they're not citizens, and I do care about the impact on people's neighborhoods and nature.
Thank you. Mr. Caffrey.
When I was growing up, I was in an honors track in school, and the only thing I was trained to do after high school was to go to college. The Wall Street Journal has come out with a report indicating the jobs are going to be flat. Job creation is going to be flat for the next 10 years, where it's going to go down. Our schools can no longer prepare people for jobs that don't exist. I have a proposal that in senior year, a student can take half the class load that they had and do an apprenticeship by starting a business, a nonprofit corporation, or even a band. Anything that they want to try to do, they got that 9 months to work with somebody who's actually got experience, have apprenticeship relationships. And then by the end of that school year, they've learned how to do their own books, they've learned how to promote things. They are preparing themselves to be their own boss. My campaign is built around the premise that there is an emergency, a climate crisis, and I coined that meme, actually. And we have to rebuild our infrastructure off of fossil fuels and nuclear as fast as possible. We have no more time. And that means we have to make sure everyone is safe and secure. And that means we do what we used to do. We can actually have free college education. In the 70s, I paid $215 a quarter at UC San Diego. We can do it if we make those choices. We should have full funding for all of our schools. This idea about funding coming from property tax is crazy. The schools in Watts are not nearly the same as Beverly Hills. Gee, I wonder why. So I think we have to change the approach, and we have to make a commitment in our politics. We have to tell the rest of the country this is the way we have to go. So we have to rise up and start to make a statement.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Thank you, Mr. Caffrey.
Did you know that the largest terrorist organization and organized crime syndicate in world history is the Republican Party. And the second largest is the Democratic Party. And that all 41 Republican senators meet the diagnostic criteria for antisocial personality disorder. Failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behavior. Deceitfulness is indicated by repeated lying. Impulsivity or failure to plan ahead, no exit plan. Irritability and aggressiveness is indicated by repeated physical fights. Reckless disregard for safety of self or others. Consistent irresponsibility, as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations, and lack of remorse. It's a military Keynesian economy. Keynesianism means that you stimulate the economy directly. We stimulate the military. Our wars, all of them, come from the need to buy and destroy equipment to keep that system going. The same thing is true with Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran. One thing on Iran, this is a horrible, horrible myth. Iran has about 30% purity. In order to have a bomb, they have to get over 90%. This is a scam to boost gas prices.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Thank you, Mr. Caffrey.
NEPA, CEQA, Endangered Species Act, yeah, they're all pretty good, but they're not nearly enough. I'd like to see an evolutionary impact. I'd like to see a department of the world's best ideas so we can figure out the best way to develop our laws. Two of the worst laws, I think, would be the Iraq War authorization and GATT or NAFTA. The ecocide that's been done because of those things. You know, I think it's about 30% of the Middle East is so irradiated because of depleted uranium that you should not go there ever again. My life has been, as an Earth Firster, has been to fight because these laws aren't being enforced. As I'm sure many of you know, who've been fighting with us for the last 20 or 30 years against the Hurwitzes and GP and LP. The Board of Forestry is one of the most corrupt organizations in the state. And so what we have to do is we have to have a full restoration program based around the climate threat, and we have to use best available technology. And we have to come together as communities to design how we get off fossil fuels and nuclear locally. What do we build?
Thank you. Do you believe that lower tax rates for upper income Americans generates economic activity for the rest of working Americans? And would you vote to repeal the Bush tax cuts?
In 1979, the top 1% held 8% of the nation's wealth. Now they hold 23%. That's where the money went. That's where we have to get it. We need to tax the rich. I advocate going back to Eisenhower's top tax bracket of 91%. My set of proposals, New Green America, includes rebuilding our infrastructure to meet our needs around bioregions and sustainability, to meet our needs as close to home as possible, tax the rich, Medicare for all, and expansion of the social safety net, retreat the U.S. empire, use the military only to defend Americans and U.S. property, and corporate personhood, legalize marijuana, and end the war on drugs. Other stuff I'll tell you later. But it's a sham. I mean, all we're going to do is suck more money away from the middle class with these tax cuts. And that's how we stall an economy. For the wealth from the richest people so that they can't, so that the middle class don't have the money to keep things going.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
When I was in high school, they started a new light show at the Griffith Park Observatory called Laserium. And my buddy Brett got to know some of these tech guys, and they said, well, you know, we actually are about 6 generations ahead of what we're showing you here. But we're going to milk you at every generation. Right now, we're at 4 or 5, and now they're like 572G. Okay, why? They make it a national priority. 8 of these candidates live in Marin and Sonoma County. I live in a very rural area. My volunteer coordinator, too, has dial-up. I can't get copies of video he shot until I take a thumb drive over to his place. Okay? If you look at the future with gas prices going up, much more commerce is going to be done on broadband. People's lives depend on broadband. So this is something along with healthcare, education, that as we do with police, as we do with the military and the fire department, we don't charge people to use those things. We just decide that this is a priority for our nation, and we push our politicians to do it. That's all it is.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
This is a very illuminating topic.
Thank you, Mr. Caffrey.
Well, as I pointed out, when these people literally don't have consciences, which is what a psychopath is, what do you do about it? Do you go in there and try to heal them? There isn't a cure. Do you go in and just let them frame the issues like President Obama and the Democrats have done? Who's out there leading the charge to frame things from the Democratic or Green point of view? No one. Okay, that's what we have to do. That's what I will do. I've reframed it into 7 positions. The last 2 are prosecute the Bush administration for crimes against humanity, war crimes, torture, and murder, and electoral reform, ranked choice voting, paper ballots, public financing of elections, get corporate money out of elections.
Okay, thank you very much.
To solve problems. Second, I have a proven record of being strong on core democratic values. You don't have to wonder about it. These are not positions that have sort of come to me recently on the campaign trail. I've been a public interest attorney for a good part of my life. I spent 12 years in local government, 6 years in the state legislature, and that record is very, very strong on core democratic values. And then finally, I've also got that record to show that I can get the results. I've been able to pass over 60 pieces of legislation in a very polarized and dysfunctional environment in Sacramento. If you're looking for a candidate with that combination of commitment and values, but also problem solving, I'm ready to serve. I'd be proud to have your support. And again, I also want to make sure you know that I am endorsed by that rare combination of business groups like the California Small Business Association, Organized Labor, the California Labor Federation, every environmental group that's endorsed in this race, including the Sierra Club, which has co-endorsed me with Susan Adams here, and Congressman Mike Thompson as well. You can learn more about my campaign at jaredhuffman.com, and I would be very honored to be your next member of Congress. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Adams?
Well, I'm ready for the big show. I've had 10 years of training in the trenches at local government, and it can be rough and ready in the local government level too, but I've delivered the goods for my community, and I have a relationship with not only regulatory agencies, but also congressional leaders, especially around issues of healthcare reform, about watershed issues, about energy, and HUD housing, and housing for our mentally ill veterans who are coming back home. I have a very verifiable public record. I can't take down the information about who I am in my past. I've lived in this district for 25 years. I'm also a 4th generational descendant of a Mendocino ranching family who's still actively ranching in Boonville. I have family in Humboldt. So I make the commitment that if I'm elected, when I'm back and forth from Washington, half the time I'll be in the southern part of the district, half the time I'll be here with you in the northern part of the district, so I can be actively engaged in helping you problem solve. Your congressional leader isn't there to do the job for you and dictate to you. The congressional leader is there to work in partnership with you to help you deliver what you need for your communities and to make sure that our laws and our regulations aren't obstructing you from being able to build the healthy communities that you so deserve. I think that my support from the American Nurses Association, from the Marin and the Sonoma Women's Caucuses demonstrates that I have credibility, especially in helping to bring a woman's voice to Washington, which I think is very sorely missed right now.
Thank you. Ms. Renee?
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is a really great turnout, and I'm running to become the ninth Latina elected to U.S. Congress in our nation's history. It's a historic campaign, and as someone who's worked on issues like the 19th Amendment for over 20 plus years, and has been serving in my community around issues of domestic violence, electing, appointing, and mentoring women to run for office and get on our boards and committees and commissions. I am very excited to reach out to this new district and to meet the folks and learn about all of the issues that are important to you, to be able to represent your needs in Congress, in DC, in these critical times. In Petaluma, I've served on Sonoma County Transportation Authority, where I've been able to ensure that we have $238 million in infrastructure projects for the Petaluma region, critical infrastructure, job-creating projects to widen the 101 and improve our interchanges and our Petaluma River Bridge. I've been protecting the Golden Gate Bridge and making sure that it will last at least another 75 years on that bridge district as well. I'm very interested in transportation issues and ensuring that we have rural transit. As a one-car family, my husband commutes on the bus and it takes an hour and a half each way to get to and from work. So I understand those issues well, living in a somewhat urban and rural environment, and I believe I can represent your needs and your issues well in DC. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, just a great turnout, and again, thank you very much. It gives me energy and encourages, I'm sure, all of us to see your interest in the messages and the issues that are current, very current today. So thank you for doing that. The theme I would give you tonight is that I just didn't arrive on the scene last week or the week before and seize these issues and decided to run. I'm not new to this table. I've lived in the district 40 years. I was involved, you can go on my website, danroberts.forcongress.com, and you'll see my nonprofit and quasi-governmental experience going back 30, 40 years in this district. I helped clean up the bay when the Richardson Bay had all the house builders out there polluting the water, so that was 1980, I think. And this year I helped the Audubon Society clean up the beach on the Audubon Ranch property on Richardson Bay. So I've been sensitive to the environmental issues for a long, long time, having lived here a long, long time. Raised 3 children, partially as a single parent, in the same home for about 40 years. So I've been around, I'm known to the community down there, but what you'll hear from me, and I hope that I've tried to be clear, I think for clarity, for example, that's sometimes important. And so I'm trying to give you different solutions, different answers to the problems. If you keep doing the same thing with failure, you're going to, that's the definition of somebody, the definition of insanity. So the Andy Caffrey for Congress.
Thank you. Mr. Caffrey.
You know, the tsunami's coming and you don't leave early enough and get far enough away, you're just as dead as somebody who stayed there. Likewise with the climate crisis. In 1990, the EPA, the IPCC, and the Woodsville Research Center indicated we had to reduce our emissions 50 to 80% below 1990 levels by 2000 or 2005. President Obama has set that date for 2050. We didn't get 45 more years. Considering our crisis, I want to ask you, do you think any of these people sitting beside me, going in to be the next Lynn Wolfe, Dennis Kucinich, name your favorite congressman or woman, do you think they're going to actually make a difference in time? What can one of these people do? What we need is someone who's going to go down there and make a ruckus bigger than the Tea Party. Someone who's going to express what I talked about here, which is New Green America. It's just pioneers and Amy Goodman. Okay, we can all agree on this. We have to provide the leadership. We have Marin County and the pioneers here, and we have the Emerald Triangle in the heart of the Back to Land movement. This is where it starts. If we don't do it, it's going to be terminal for the planet. And one last thing. Norman's going to tell you he's in second place. What he's not going to tell you is that in his own polls, he's lost 1% in the last 6 months. He's at 10% now. He was at 11%. So I'm calling on Norman to leave the race tonight, because what he's going to do is prevent us from electing the first Green in the history of the nation to Congress. And if he spent $500,000 and he's dropped the point, and there's 21% undecided, then there were 6% in his polls, then he's not going to go any further. He's going to do 25%.
Mr. Solomon, you happen to be next.
I'm so glad. Well, there is wishful thinking that candidates want other candidates to leave the race. That's understandable. You know, I'm very proud not only that the latest poll in this race, Scientific by Nancy Pelosi's pollster, Linda Lake, has me in second place, but the way we got there, that we're a grassroots campaign leader, more than 5,000 individuals who've given us money, more than 1,000 volunteers. That's the grassroots way to do it. I don't believe this election should be for sale. I don't believe it can or should or will go to those who shell out the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the radio and TV ads. I've earned endorsements solo from ILWU, from AFSCME locals in the district, triple endorsement from SEIU California, dual from California Federation of Teachers. I'm proud of that because I've done it from the grassroots. I was first on a picket line at age 14, a civil rights demonstration, which I later learned through the Freedom of Information Act, got me an FBI file because in 1966, if you celebrated and worked for civil rights, the FBI would open a file on you. From that day to this, more or less, with some days off, I've been working for social justice, and that's what I bring to this table. I believe that's why Dan Hamburg has endorsed me, which I'm very proud of. When I was able to put out a news release that Dan Hamburg has endorsed Norman Solomon in this race for Congress, it was a very thrilling thing for me because grassroots organizing is what's crucial to make the difference. I'm out of time. Please visit our site, SolomonForCongress.com. Grassroots progressive change is possible, and we can do it together. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Mr. Courtney.
Speaking of grassroots, at college, after medical school, I spent another 3 years in psychiatry studying conflict resolution. That's a skill that is based on listening, and I'm concerned whether or not listening is going to take us very far. I ask you, please look at zeitgeist, look at 9/11 in plain sight, look at loose change, and look at Current America. And if you believe that Flight 77 hit the Pentagon, vote for somebody else. If you believe that it did not, give me 2 years, and if I come back alive, I will have some answers. Because it really is it's the terrorist that has driven the rape of liberty. We have the military doing seatbelt checks in Tennessee and Texas. You can be strip searched if you don't have an audible bell on your bicycle. Spend $100, download the National Defense Authorization Act. I guarantee you it'll be the best $100 you've ever spent. That means you'll kind of go to courtforcongress.org as an organization. I'm not a commercial operation. I don't want to go there for life. I want to go there for a short time. I wish I didn't have to go. But we need some change.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
Yeah, on the table back there, that's this little sheet that you can pick up that has the links in it. I'd like to talk about number 6, capitalism. 1776 is notable. Everybody knows about the 4th of July, but that's also the year that a guy named Adam Smith wrote a book called On the Wealth of Nations. 1776 was a long time ago. He wrote that with a pen, a quill pen, not a fountain pen, not a computer, not a typewriter. There was no electricity then. There was no plumbing. It was, shops. Everything was built by hand, one at a time, by craftsmen. So his idea of greed, which is the heart of capitalism, is do what's in your own best self-interest, and an invisible hand will make that good for society. It kind of worked when he did it, but it didn't last long. About 100 years later, a guy named Marx wrote a book called Das Kapital, and he said capitalism can't work and we need socialism. The USSR tried that. In '89, that failed. Well, I think if you have your eyes open, you know capitalism has failed. So I highly encourage you to watch the movie A Beautiful Mind. And I have a link here to my webpage where I've extracted the 3-minute bar scene. And in the bar scene, Nash and his friends are sitting there, and a beautiful woman walks in with some other women, and they say, every man for himself. And Nash says, no, Adam Smith was wrong. That's a quote from Nash. We have to do what's in our own self-interest and everyone's the group's self-interest. That way we all get laid.
Thank you. Mr. Hallowell?
In one of our previous debates, I exaggerated and said I was twice as old as Jared Huffman. But I have been involved in politics twice as long as he has. Ever since my folks were divorced in 1950, I was pretty much on my own. And in 1950, when Eisenhower was running against Taft, I was for Eisenhower, and Eisenhower got 40% of the vote in the black community, and the Republicans in the House passed the Voting Rights Act and the Public Accommodations Act. It could not have been passed by Democrat votes, who had the Solid South back then. And we don't have a lot of Republican support now in the minority communities, but they're a heck of a lot better off in the Republican Solid South than they were in the Democrat Solid South back in the day when that was the dominant party. And the Republican Party stands for the little guy. We're not these big, fabulously rich people. The George Soroses of the world are against us. The Warren Buffetts are against us. Anybody with that amount of money, shame on them if you're Bill Gates and you've got to spend it all on your own personal aggrandizement. Of course you can afford to have large taxes with a fabulous income like that, but for the struggling small employer who's trying to find jobs, you can't afford not to be globally competitive. And we simply have to decentralize. Instead of having the money come into Washington so it can be allocated to the cylinders of the world, we should have these multiple decisions at a local level. And that's the Republican Party I stand for.
Thank you. Mr. Llewellyn?
I'm John Llewellyn. I'm organically connected to you in Mendocino County. I've been here for decades. I believe it's a bioregion. I love it. And I'm the founding member of several organizations in this area, the Mendocino Environmental Center, the Ocean Protection Coalition, Veterans for Peace Chapter 116, the Seaweed Stewardship Alliance. I work as an organizer in this campaign. I need the participation of everyone to get me into Congress. If you elect me, that will be a nonviolent revolution. I'm operating on a very tightwad campaign, and if you send me there, then I'll work for you. I won't have any time for a rubber chicken dinner for lobbyists. I'll be too busy trying to keep my campaign promises. Now with my wife, Barbara, I've been all over this big district, and everywhere people want these same reforms. People want peace conversion. People want to support the tribes and tribal communities, the ancient people, tribal health. I'll be working for that all the time. People want energy conversion. They want restoration of our fisheries, ocean protection, single-payer health care. These are things I'll be working for. The other day I got this sponge in the mail from Congressman Mike Thompson with the name of a candidate on it. It's a sponge. What's the message here? I need approval.
So I think this is the point in a race where political attacks are coming in the direction of those who are most threatening. So I'll take it as a sort of twisted form of flattery that some of those came my way tonight. And I think it was not mentioned that 2 of the most recent polls actually show us polling top 2 in this top 2 primary. And I think the reason for that is that economic recovery is job 1. And this campaign has been about how do we get our economy going again? How do we restore our middle class, make sure we have the kinds of jobs we need? And I'm the only candidate on this dais tonight that has 20 years of economic development experience, has been in the trenches, made payroll, worked with dozens of young small businesses to get them going, and to create the kinds of jobs we need in our local economies. And so because of that, we've been endorsed by the Mendocino County Farm Bureau, by your local leaders like Mayor Mary Ann Landis, former Mayor Mari Roden, the Mayor of Willits, Bruce Burton, Art Harwood, Calvin Harwood, the president of the local school board, and many other folks within Mendocino County have backed our campaign. I'm very thrilled with that. We're also endorsed by Emily's List, the Women's Campaign Fund, leading national organizations that support women and women's causes. They've actually picked this race as one of their top 20 races in the country to keep a strong, qualified woman in the seat, and they have endorsed my campaign. So I appreciate so much the support here in the local community. I would love you all to go on our website and read our plan, Making More in America, learn more about the positions of how we restore economic growth in our district. And I would so much love and appreciate your vote and your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Fritzl.
Thank you, and thanks for coming. You know, this is, I don't know, our 6th or 7th or 8th debate or something like that. This is the coolest group of people. We're so bizarre. You know, if you could take the best features of all of us, we would be one killer congressman. I want to talk about my issue. I have a book here called We Are the 99%, and we're running for office, Washington's Worst Nightmare. And there are a bunch of them back there. They're free if there are any left. Grab one. If not, it's on Amazon. But I have a pledge here. It says, I agree to accept no money from any corporation, lobby, PAC, or other entity other than a person, and I agree to accept no more than $100 from any individual. That's the standard I have. I'm not going to have big advertisement on the TV and stuff like that. So there's some really good people out here, some honorable people. And but I really challenge you to challenge them. If they won't acknowledge the craziness in Congress, then I'm afraid they're going to go into it. I find rolling up our sleeves and going back there, because we're walking into a swamp. But if they're pretending like there's no swamp there, beware. So LarryFritzlandForCongress.com is my website. And I want to say, Andy talked about the antisocial personality disorder. I'm the only mental health professional up here. And I went to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. He's a medical doctor, not a mental health professional. There's 2 of us. Anyway, they're right. Congress does meet the criteria for antisocial personality disorder. Thank you.